Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. My name is Kieran and I work with Polar Bears International. Ordinarily, I'd be coming to you from Churchill, Manitoba, but right now we're doing some field work and we are in Svalbard, Norway. So I wanted to take opportunity here while we get prepped for our second maternal den cam deployment, hoping for tomorrow. And the crew's working away right now. They're packing in the other room, and I figured we'll pop over and we'll take a look at kind of what it all takes to get these cams out in the field. So I'll flip the camera around here and we'll go chat with some of the other team members. So you can see there's lots that goes into this type of work. As I mentioned, we're in Svalbard, up in Norway, in archipelago north of mainland Norway. And we're getting geared up for our second deployment, which we're hoping is going to take place tomorrow. I think we'll start here with Jeff. We can bug you for a second.
Sure.
Maybe chat a little bit about kind of the history of the project or what it is we're doing.
Sure. So my name is Jeff York. I'm the Senior Director of Conservation at Polar Bears International. This project actually started in Alaska almost 20 years ago. And it started with people in tents watching bears. That quickly became clear that the bears were watching us watch them. So we looked for alternates, started making remote camera systems and relying on off-the-shelf trail cams that a lot of people might be familiar with as a backup. And you'll see here in a bit kind of what we got to today.
Great. And Jeff, how did you kind of wind up in this type of work? What's sort of your background or what brought you to Svalbard for this project?
Very circuitous background, and I've been working on polar bears specifically for almost 27 years now.
Well, that's great. Let's hop over here. We'll chat with Louise a little bit. Hey, Louise. Maybe you can talk a little bit about kind of our goals or what we're working on, the data we're collecting, and what we hope to do with that information.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we're trying to monitor polar bear mothers and new cubs when they come out of the den. So that happens around this time of year, kind of late February, early March. It's going to be the first time polar bear cubs have left the den. They've been in there growing for about 3 to 4 months. And what we're trying to do is capture footage of mothers and cubs as they come out. We want to learn about their behavior, how many cubs the mom has, the timeline of when they're doing these things. So we know that has an impact on the survival of cubs down the line. So it's really interesting to know kind of how long they're staying at the den site, when they first come out, when they finally leave for the sea ice. So that's some of the data that we're collecting. I kind of came to this project from the back end side of it, so looking at the data that's been collected over the years already. This is my first year getting to join on the field side of the project, so it's pretty interesting and exciting for me to actually see all of the work that goes into collecting these data and kind of think about what's going on in the field and how that links up to what we're seeing and learning from down the line as well.
Oh, that's great. All right, I'm going to scoot back a little bit here and we'll see if we can catch Hilda, who's hard at work. Hilda, if you want to introduce yourself, and then just kind of maybe we can chat a little bit about some of our methods for transporting equipment and finding her way around out in the remote areas that we set these cams up in.
Absolutely. So my name is Hilde Bodenström. I live up here in Svalbard. I've been doing that for 30 years now. It's a long time. I've been working with Polar Bears International for like 6 years, and I'm the ambassador, proud ambassador on Polar Bears International up here in Svalbard. So the terrain up in Svalbard is different than you have in other places like Canada, where we can find the dens. So we will be brought out in the field with a helicopter, and we know where the dens are because of the color around the mom's neck. So we can, when we start to search for the places, we get the identity and the position from Norwegian Polar Institute that we collaborate with. And then we fly out to maybe 1,000 meters away, like a kilometer away from the den. And to get there, we need skis, which is one of my favorite parts. We have skins underneath the skis, so we can actually climb. We can climb mountains, or at least climb kind of steep areas, even though we're still pulling these heavy sledges with with the batteries and the cameras and all the equipment we need to bring out in the field. And then we put up the cameras maybe 500 meters away. And then we have a whole technician part that are dealing with the clearance and everything, all the data that we are getting out from that. So we bring so much tools and safety equipment. We also bring deterrent. So if there is a polar bear that approach us, we are quick to tell them that they're not welcome to our site and keep them safe and keep ourselves safe. We also use equipment to navigate the area we are in with GPSs, and we have ways to communicate to. So these are GPSs, and they're also ability to get us in touch with the world. And we have these tools to get in touch with each other. If we, for some reason, need to split up, we have VHFs. And we also have beacons that will send out signals in case we are in distress. So we have all this kind of tools. We also have deterrents here, like the non-lethal. We bring out equipment, so we are sure we can stay out in the area for a night if the helicopter for some reason can't pick us up again. And so I was involved in this project 2 years ago, so this is my second year. And as you might think that we all have to be scientists to do this, but we don't. I'm not a scientist. I'm a so-called citizen scientist, and what I do then is to collect data for ongoing science. And I love the project that Polar Bears International are doing, because first and foremost, they're working with polar bears and their habitat. But the fun part of that is, they're beautiful, but also they are dependent on sea ice. And that's that's close to my heart, is why the sea ice is important, not only for the Arctic, but for all of us, all living beings, and us as human beings. So get this combination around polar bears that are sort of the main thing we're working with here, but also it's a symbol of what's happening to the world and why it's important for us to do work and do this kind of science, but also to communicate around the issues around polar bears and the sea ice and why that is important for all of us.
Great. Well, that's wonderful. Awesome. Just behind Hilda, I'm sure you guys noticed, we've got Christian, who's hard at work. Christian, if you'd take a minute and just introduce yourself, a little bit about your background, and then I figured this might be a good opportunity, since we're looking at one of the cameras right now. We can talk a little bit about some of the problem solving we did today, some of that kind of stuff we might encounter in the field, and how we've got to be sort of adapting on the fly and sometimes making changes that we didn't anticipate.
Yep, my name is Christian Solly. I'm having the lead for the field operation and logistics here. So right now we're preparing the system to go in the field. So we're hopefully going out in the field tomorrow to do some final checks. We had to do some adjustments today as we got new batteries, so we have to reconfigure the whole setup a little, and it went pretty smooth. And I think I'm happy with the solution we worked out here today. Sometimes most of the time we want to stick to the plan, to the schedule, but sometimes we need to be a little flexible and have to adjust on the fly. So right now I'm checking if the batteries are healthy and charged and good to go. So we do the final checks here, and we should be good to go for tomorrow.
Awesome. Yeah, and same thing, just while we're looking at the box here, it's a good opportunity, like the batteries that Christian had mentioned. They're a new lithium battery that we just brought in, and so this is kind of a major upgrade for us. It allows the camera to function, on its own, out in the cold, out in the wilderness for a longer period of time, which is important because it gives us the opportunity to capture more data, some more video footage. So we got these nice new batteries, but then they didn't fit properly in with our old system. So that's where those modifications came in. The other thing you'll notice too, just on the lid there, is some of our procedures. So you can see we've got a pretty long list, and those are just including some of our final checks and the things that we kind of go through once we're out in the field to make sure that the camera's functioning properly as we leave, because they're way out of the way and it's really hard, if not impossible, to go back and to troubleshoot or to fix issues if they arise. So very important that we follow all the procedures to make sure that everything functions for the duration of the season. And we'll work our way around some of the gear here. It's a busy room. And we've got Katie from the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance. Hey, Katie.
Hi.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then some of the work that you're up to?
Sure. So my name is Katie Garwood. I work for the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance. I'm in the Conservation Technology Lab, and I've been an engineer there for the past 2.5 years. And so I've only been on this project for this past year, but the Conservation Tech Lab has worked on this DenCam project for the past 5 years. And this year we decided to make a lot of software updates, and that's something I worked on. So one thing I'm doing right now is sometimes you get it for software, you want to try to break it so you know what to fix. And so just a lot of, testing and making sure everything runs smoothly for the team. Simulating what they're going to do in the field over and over so that we can catch anything that might go wrong. Another thing, they mentioned we had to switch the batteries, and so one thing I worked on is making sure that the way the batteries get charged with solar, when you switch a battery chemistry, you have to also switch some of the settings about how the batteries get charged from solar. So I was able to change those settings on these units for these new batteries. And yeah, some of the stuff I worked.
Cool. I think you have something else to show us, so we might pop over in the other room. But before we leave the room, I do want to just we'll scan over some more of the equipment here, because it really is quite a lot that we got to bring to make sure that we're safe and that everything goes smoothly. And so just behind Katie, you see that big pile of stuff. That all comes with us. Most of that stuff is going to join us in the helicopter when we head out to these den locations. So very important. We've got lots of gear, and we've got backup gear, and we've got replacements in case things break, and we've got backups for the backups. That's kind of plan. And it makes all the difference. You can also see we've got a number of the cameras here. So we're hoping to get multiple deployments this year. And so we're just kind of readying all of our equipment. And then I don't know if we mentioned, but these cameras, they run on battery, but we also have solar power. So the sun is starting to show up here again in Svalbard, and so we want to take advantage of that. And by adding the solar panels, it's going to allow those cameras to operate for a little bit longer, for hopefully getting good footage when those bears emerge from the dens with their cubs. And these pulks here, these will be fully loaded, and then as Hilda mentioned, we'll be fastening ourselves. We've got big belts and ropes, and so we hook up to our skis, and then we'll pull these up to the location where we want to set up the camera. So it's important that we don't disturb the bears. We don't want to disturb them while they're in the den. So the last little bit of distance, we go on skis because it's nice and quiet, and we can kind of set up our gear and get out of there without bothering the bear and her cubs. All right, so we'll follow Katie into the other room and look at some more gear.
Nice little workshop we got here also.
We'll take a quick little look at the workshop setup. Lots of tools to get the cams ready.
And so in here we are working on kind of a newer system. So the units that you saw inside there are the type of boxes, DenCams, that we've been using for the past few years, though we've made some software updates, as I mentioned. We're also, the Conservation Tech Lab is trying to work on the next version of what that unit's going to look like. And so in order to kind of solve some of the problems that the team faces with trying to aim the box as you have super, pretty heavy batteries that you're trying to lift up and aim perfectly the entire box. If you decouple that from the camera from the box, then you just have to worry about aiming the camera. So that's something that we're testing out here. We hope to deploy our test unit here this year so that we can, get some data back from it. So maybe next year, the years in the future, we can use that unit. And we have somebody else from the San Diego Zoo here working on that right now.
Yeah, should we tell them a little bit more about
what the system does?
Yeah.
You want me to go ahead and do
Sure.
that? Okay.
And if you want to
Yeah,
let
I'll
folks know
introduce
who you
myself.
are, yeah.
So my name is Ian Ingram. I'm also from the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance, and I lead the Conservation Technology Lab. And as Katie explained, we've been working on this for about 5 years with Polar Bears International. The DenCam project is a collaboration between Polar Bears International, the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance, and now that we're working in Svalbard, also the Norwegian Polar Institute. So the project predates the 5 years we've been doing it, the Conservation Technology Lab. But now that we're really actively involved, we're trying to solve, as Katie said, these problems that are cropping up, these things that we think we might be able to innovate on. And engineering innovation and inventing is a big part of what you try to do. You try to find places where you can solve problems or even solve problems you don't even know about. So this, I don't know what you can see right now, but if you come closer, you can see a lot of the same stuff here. So there's a smaller box, and inside that box are some of the things that you might have noticed when you were looking at the older systems. So a little computer that runs all of the software, a little device that handles the charge controlling of the batteries. Katie was talking about how the batteries are able to get power from a solar array, which, you know, we haven't shown it to you, but imagine there's this big solar array that's nearby, and then wiring that links it all together. And part of what we decided to do in this design is bring down the size of the batteries and rely more on the solar array. We're experimenting with that. The other thing we're really trying to do is use a different kind of camera. So the cameras on the older systems are in the box, and when you aim it, you have to aim the whole box. In this case, we're integrating a pan, tilt, zoom surveillance camera. So a camera that can pan, and that can zoom, and that can tilt. And then a cable connects the box in the field. So you end up attaching one end of this to this box where all this stuff is, and the other end to the camera there. And then you've mechanically decoupled. You've made it so that the things that happen over here don't happen over there. So you get this installed, and then you get this installed, and then you can use something that you might be familiar with, a PS4 controller for your video game system, to actually aim the camera without having to touch anything, not having to move the whole box, not having to move anything, you know. And so then you unplug it, and then you close it, and you're done. So we're hoping that some of these different innovations that we've applied to the system to make this new system could be integrated in 2026 for the actual systems that go out there. This won't go out there. This is a prototype. This is an experiment. And something that you might also find kind of exciting is that if this all works in 2026, then potentially in 2027, we'll basically make it a robot. We'll allow the camera system itself to look for polar bears using machine learning and then track them. So it won't just be about what we do at the beginning of the season when we put these cameras out and aim them. The whole thing will just be there, fully ready to watch for polar bears and then track them and get the kind of data that we don't even get now, where polar bears wander off the side of the frame, where they're doing other sorts of activities. So that's the dream, that every year we make a better system that allows us to get better data in order to learn as much as possible about these polar bears, to give it to Louise, who you met earlier, so she can analyze it and then tell the world about stuff that we need to know about polar bears to help protect them.
Well, it's kind of like a never-ending process, right? There's always advancements, and there's new things that, you know, you kind of dream up or think of how to improve things. And we find, at least in the field, you know, you add something and now all of a sudden something else becomes obsolete. And so it's just this constant, always changing and shifting and advancing.
Indeed. And for, you know, folks watching this who are thinking about becoming engineers, that's exactly what engineering is about. It's about iteration. It's like Wile E. Coyote. You do something, then you have to change it. I mean, Wile E. Coyote never succeeds, so you don't really want to be quite like him, but you do need to go back to the drawing board and change something and then try it out again and then keep going around in that loop of integration and change and innovation.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody's time.